Welcome back to the channel. My name is Stephen Nguyen. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate. So I had another great comment from a viewer, subscriber, and really want to share the comment and then give my thoughts on it because I thought it was very thought provoking for me. So, in any case, basically, I asked, should I sell all my real estate and then unload it to buy $4 million worth of stocks after paying taxes and then basically just take it easy and coast? Right? And then what someone kind of said was, "Hey, you're so young in your career. I'm 34 years old. I became a pharmacist at 23, so I've been working for about 11 years now, and I make over $200,000, which is a good salary, W-2, right? Golden handcuffs, and basically, he suggested that I continue working until I'm over $10 million in net worth, and then basically at that point, if you live off the 4% rule, that's roughly, I think that's $400,000, right? Basically a year that I can live off of and never touch my principal. And $400,000 is a pretty comfortable salary. That's basically two pharmacist salaries. So I'd replace my income and my fiance's income, and basically I could take that $400,000, live off that, and basically never have to work a day in my life again as a W 2, right? And basically live off that interest, your monthly gains or your gains, and then basically never touch your principal for the most part, right? And then basically your net worth will still grow, but much more slowly. So it kind of got me thinking because if you read the book Tao of Zero or you're part of the Financial Independence Retirement Early community, they emphasize that there's only certain things that you can do in certain phases of your life, right? Like so, like I looked at back now, like in my 20s, it was so easy for me to like overwork myself, right? Like I could literally stay up all night, go to a club, and then be at work at the next day at 7 a.m. with like 3 hours of sleep, right? Now, in my 30s, if I don't sleep my 8.5 hours, I'm grouchy, I'm tired, I'm cranky, I'm a mess, right? So in my 20s, it was very easy to take a risk and, you could, eat a bunch of junk food, you really athletic and lift heavy weights. You can travel freely. You don't live fancy. You don't live bougie. It's very bootstrapped. Poor college mentality, right? Like, you're happy eating Chipotle, right? And then in the 30s, once you experience Chipotle, like you want finer things, right? You want to maybe eat at a nicer restaurant or do this, right? So like, there's only certain things that you can do in your 20s that you can't do in your 30s, right? And for me, I'm 34, so like in my 20, like things I used to enjoy in my 20s, which I don't do as much in my 30s. Like I don't like drinking alcohol as much, right? Like I never really did, but it was a social thing to do, and I kind of felt like you had to drink and do all this, right? But now in my 30s, I'm like, don't really care to drink, but I'll drink if it's a nice occasion and I'm in the mood, but I don't need to do it regularly, or I don't need to do it to the point of getting drunk, right? In terms of like travel and experiences, like in my 20s, like everything was like so nice and new. Like the first time I went to Japan, it was like life changing, right? And I went to Japan recently. Don't get me wrong, it's still an amazing trip, but it doesn't have that initial novelty that it once had, right? So really, it's not as novel. And like even like eating good food, like in my 20s, I used to eat out. Oh my god, it was amazing. The food was amazing. Um, I would be like super happy, blown away. And now in my 30s, I'm like, I feel like I've eaten everything and everything tastes really good, but like it's nothing new for me, right? So why I went that huge rant is because there's things that like um, I can do now while my life is simple, right? So like in my 20s, my life was a lot simpler when I owned no real estate, no assets, and my job wasn't as hard. Now I'm in my 30s. Yeah, you have more obligations. I have a W 2 that's more demanding. I have a real estate portfolio. I'm trying to build a business, and I'm trying to prioritize, juggle multiple balls, right? Like what all of us are doing. So it's just got me thinking like, okay, there's only things I can do now in my 30s that I can't do later, right? So like, I'm in good health. I can travel. I have energy. I don't have kids yet. So there's a lot of things that I can do more freely now versus later. So I always had the thought of like, my God, like by all means, I could just retire from my W two, don't have to work, could take like a few years off, travel pretty nicely. I'm pretty thrifty in terms of how I travel, right? I don't overspend on hotels. If you go to like Southeast Asia, like I'm planning a trip to Bali, Taiwan, Malaysia, like you can get a pretty decent hotel for like $40 a night. It's not going to be like 5, 6 stars, but hey, it's decent enough, and I'm barely in my hotel anyways, right? So there's a ways to travel where you can enjoy without breaking the bank, right? Like you don't have to spend $500 a night to stay in a hotel when you're out all day, right? It doesn't make sense. So I literally could retire, like, leave my job, my fiance leave her job too, then we have to travel together. But then the problem is like when we come back, it's not easy to get a job in like Los Angeles, right? Especially like my job, it's hard to get this type of job. So that's what I mean by it's like the golden handcuff, right? But then, will I regret not doing it, right? Because no one ever regrets like, oh, I wish I worked more. It's like no, people always say, oh, I wish I traveled more. I wish I spent more time with friends and family. I wish that I didn't like pour 100% of my life into my job. You hear both sides of the argument, right? And for me, I always balance it out where, for me, I'm very frugal, but when it comes to traveling, I will spend, right? Within reason. Like, I'm not going to go like crazy baller, but I'm like, hey, I'm here one time. I'm going to enjoy my vacation. I worked hard. I just spend out, right? If I want to do something on vacation, I'll do it, right? I'm not going to hold myself back for that reason. So, it's really interesting because, for me, experiences brings me more fulfillment. So it's like finding that balance. Like I know I can retire, but I also know that I can work a W-2 more, continue to build up my real estate portfolio, continue to build up my side businesses on YouTube, my coaching, my mentorship, because this compounds over time too. And once that's built up, then I can replace my W-2. At that point, I would feel comfortable stepping away from W-2 if I want to, or maybe I'll continue doing it because I love what I do, and I'm learning and it's developing me as a person, despite all the stressors and headaches that come with it. So yeah, it's been really interesting. Like, do I just want to like be free and like financially retire and I can totally afford to do it, right? Or do I continue working and then strive to being worth $10 million, which I'll get there eventually, just naturally. So yeah, interested in hearing your thoughts. Like this topic is really related to the book Dive Zero. There's only certain things I can do in my 20s that I can't do. There's certain things I can do in my 30s that I can't do, and it's investing into your life experiences, which compound over time too, right? Like that's why for me, I always travel at least twice a year. No questions asked, right? Even when I was in my deepest, darkest depression last year, I still traveled to the Philippines, right? I made an effort to travel because I knew I'd regret not traveling, right? So it was always my priority. And, even when I get a kid, maybe it's limiting belief, but I'll travel internationally too, right? Like a lot of people say, oh, once you have kids, you can't travel. And that's the adage that I believe. But, well, what's that going to do? How about I travel with my kid and then learn how to do that and figure it out? Like, obviously, you can't move as fast or as much, and you're at their mercy, but you can still travel and still enjoy yourself, right? Like, it doesn't have to be like one thing or the other. Um, so, that's kind of, that might be a limiting belief, right? So, anyways, curious to hear your thoughts on this. Please give your input, your feedback. Would love to hear it. Let me know if any comments or questions down below. If you're interested in joining my multifamily mentorship program to achieve financial independence earlier than you would like, check out my description down below. Please like, comment, subscribe. I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.